let's get started. So hope everyone is familiar with the dev portal account. So if you're not, just visit dev.reclaimprotocol.org and log in, and you'll be able to see this application screen. So first, what I want you to do is we'll start with creating data providers only. So you can go to the data providers tab and look if there is already like a data provider there, or you would want to create a new one. So we'll go to create a new data provider. Then we get taken to the dev tool. So now dev tool is where the majority of your time will be spent when it comes to creating a provider. I'll connect my phone as well. So you have to click on the scan QR button. It'll open a QR code scanner screen. Then you click on next. Then you can now connect your Reclaim protocol app to the developer tool. Now, so there are few options. So let's just try to build provider for Uber website. So I'll go to my new tab and I'll search for Uber. We'll try to get something from Uber. So I'll go to Uber, and here you can paste the website that you want to navigate to. Either you can act as a desktop browser or a mobile browser. Some websites only allow you to be viewed on a desktop client, or some websites only allow you to be on a mobile client. So right now I'll just go to desktop Chrome or desktop Safari, and I'll just press navigate. So now I'm on my user page. I'll go with ride with Uber. We can now go to the page that we want to verify data. For example, I'll go for my name Abdul Rashid over here. So now once I'm on the page which has the data for me, I'll click on next. That now I have the data, and here you can see all the requests that was captured by our dev tool. So if you want to see any particular request, you just click on the eye icon and you will see the entire data that was shared. If you look at some requests, like for example this, you will get to see the entire data. And this request also has my name in it. I'll select this request. Also, what you can do is if I don't know which request will have the data, I can also search for the data using the search box on top. I can see that there are two network requests, so you can have an idea which data you are actually verifying. I'll select this one. I'll click on next, and this will automatically highlight the name for me. And since I want to have the entire email address, what I'll do is I'll select the entire email address. I'll just click on add, and I'll give it a variable name. I'll give it email. And here you can see there's a mobile number as well. So I'll click and select that for verification, and I'll add it this as variable. And then I'll proceed to next. So now I have to name my provider. I'll say Uber get email on from Uber. This is basically where the user will actually log in. So here we show a list of all the previous pages that the user has visited. So some here a very nice trick that a lot of websites do is basically if I go to Amazon and I'll go to a page which is for example my orders page. So if you look at this is the my Amazon's order page, and this will show me the last orders, and this is will show me the last order for the user I've logged in. But if I try to visit this page on an unauthenticated session, what they'll do is they'll redirect me to the login screen. But what they also do is when I complete the login, they'll redirect me to the correct page that I was trying to log into. So a lot of websites implement this functionality. So what you can also do is to make a good seamless experience, so that the user does not have to do a lot of navigation after they have logged in into the provider. You can just try whether your website supports this. So if I log into my Amazon account, I'll be taken to the page of my orders. So you have to see which websites do support this and which websites do not support this. And this is a nice hack for you to create good provider. So coming back again, I know that Uber supports this, so I can just directly make the users go into the trips tab. I'll just put user to the login page, and then I'll click on next. Once I've selected this, here this is just showing me what the request that I'm going to make was. So here you have an option to customize the URL. What do I mean by that? Some URLs will contain some dynamic data. For example, user slash Abdul Rashid or user slash 123, which will be my user ID. So in that scenario, what you can do is you can mark certain part of the request as dynamic. So this is seen in a lot of websites like YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. The URL itself will have some dynamic data. So you can click on the part that you want to make dynamic, and this will convert it into dynamic. And you can click it back to convert it into the previous option. Here, these are the regex for and the JSON, but this is a very technical details. Most of the you who are creating just normal providers, you don't have to modify this anyhow. These are all automatically generate for you. Now, this is the body. If you see your username or name over here, you can just select that portion. For example, if this was my username, I'll just this portion and I'll click on make dynamic. Now, what this do is if it was my username, any other user also can use that provider, and this will be replaced by their username when they are generating the proof. I can click on reset body to return it to the default state, and I can also click on make all dynamic. So one thing to keep in mind is when would you use dynamic body and when would you use dynamic URL. So if you just make everything dynamic, it will obviously not work. The reason being, the request needs to be properly identified for the proof to be generated. You have to make sure if the uniqueness of the request is present in the URL. For example, if it was account.uber.com slash Abdul Rashid Reshamwala, then I would make the URL dynamic and keep the body constant. If the uniqueness is in the body, I would convert the that part of the body to dynamic and keep the URL constant. If, for example, it was account.uber.com slash me, and in here instead of the operation name, it would be like username Abdul Rashid, then I would change that portion into the body. There are very less scenarios where you would want to convert both the URL and body as dynamic. So now I'll just leave this. This looks very constant to me. This does not have any attributes that are specific for my profile. So I'll just click on next. JS injection, again, JS injection is quite an advanced topic, and this is just to add that last missing piece of interactivity, whether you have to click on a button to generate a proof or you want to navigate to a certain website. This is solved by the JS injection. Now, the last one more thing is geolocation. So, some websites are geo restricted, like Aadhaar is restricted in India, and Bank of America will obviously be restricted to America, and so on and so forth. So, we have a proxy in place. So, if you feel any website is geo restricted, you can select a proxy that you want the request to be proxied through, and this will able to bypass the geolocking conditions for the website. Since we do not need these for the websites, we'll click on skip. Now comes to the provider card screen. This is the last customization option. So in this is basically how your proof would be seen by the end user. So you can click on preview to see what data is actually there, and this is how it will look on the end account. And you'll click on submit, and this should create a provider. Now that I've created the provider, I will test the provider in my Reclaim protocol app. I click on finish. So here is my provider Uber contact info. This is my phone. I'll search for the provider here. Uber contact info. This is the provider I created. Go to my default page. Now it generates the proof. So you own the data including your email and phone number.